For the first time, Frederick enjoyed the journey towards the usual secret destination. In the past, whenever he received a letter to indicate his presence was necessary, he found he would feel annoyed by the need to journey to such a desolate location. Considering the need for secrecy, he would need to travel by himself instead of being able to ride comfortably. His legs would feel in pain for the longest time, having to ride on a horse for the extended period. "Is there anything I can do for you, my lord?" A mesmerizing voice could be heard next to him. Turning his head, he viewed the reason this trip was so great. Lady Victoria looked at him with concern, her body close to him due to the size of the carriage. He enjoyed the way her shoulder touched his. The feeling of her voluptuous body bringing a variety of emotions to the surface. "I was thinking how I'm glad you are able to join me, Lady Victoria." Frederick smiled at her. Ever since she arrived at the castle, he enjoyed having her company. Over time, he began to share more of his life with her. Feeling like he could trust her, he divulged his involvement with an organization that hid in the background. Though she was initially shocked by such news, Frederick was able to calm her down and explain how important the organization was. He still remembered how she said, "My lord, those such things sound sinister. I do feel like you are an honorable man, and feel that such an organization must also be such." She then placed her hand on top of his and looked into his eyes, saying, "I am happy that you would trust me with such sensitive information. Though I do not know how much help I could be for you, I would like to assist you on this matter." This trip would be another step in becoming closer to her and allow him to begin courting her. Feeling bold, he placed his hand on her arm, feeling her smooth and tender arm. "Do you think you could fetch me something to drink? I do feel a little parched," Frederick asked her. Her cheeks turned slightly red at his bold move, and she asked the maid, "Astaroth, bring me a canteen for Lord Frederick." The maid opened up a small carrying bag, and after rummaging through it, she pulled out a bottle with a liquid inside. From inside the bag, the maid took out a crystal glass. Using the side of the carriage, which had a place for servants to prepare drinks and small snacks, the maid, Astaroth, opened up the bottle and poured out a small amount of the liquid. After closing the bottle and returning it to the bag, she used both hands to offer it to Victoria. Taking the crystal glass, Victoria turned towards him and offered the cup. "I do hope this drink is to your liking. We pack several delicacies from our kingdom to help in trade and remind us of where we came from." Her eyes were like bottomless pools filled with grace and kindness as she handed him the drink. The way she smiled conveyed grace and feminine innocence, devoid of the seductive ways which were used by women of the court. With one hand to take the bottom of the glass, he used the other hand to feel Victoria's hand. He felt her hand brush against his as she let go of the glass. A part of him felt saddened to no longer hold her hand. Looking down at the contents in the glass, he marveled at how the liquid seemed to change between a blue and purple color as it interacted with the light. "It seems even the drinks in your kingdom are filled with beauty," Frederick commented as he raised his head to look at Victoria. "My lord, the way you are able to weave words so smoothly, I am starting to think that other women had heard such things from you," she lightly laughed. "I would not dare such things, my Lady Victoria." Frederick quickly renounced the claim, a tad bit more forcefully than he should have. The thought of her thinking he was a frivolous man was a horrifying idea. "I am glad." She dipped her head down and quietly spoke her relief. Hearing her words made him want to place a hand to her chin and turn her face towards his. Frederick imagined placing his lips on top of hers, like out of a romantic story he had heard women read. Before he was able to act on his impulse, he raised the glass to his mouth and drank the contents in the cup. The liquid felt like it glided on his tongue, bringing a sweet taste that was nothing he had ever experienced. Once the glass was empty, he stared into the cup as if he was hoping that there was more. "Would it be too presumptuous to think that you enjoyed the drink?" Victoria asked, after seeing his dazed expression. "Your kingdom must be a wonderful place to have such things within its borders," he finally stated. As he was about to ask to have another glass, he felt the carriage begin to slow down. After it came to a complete stop, the door nearest to him opened. The night flooded into the small carriage, but was replaced with the light of a lantern. One of Victoria's maids' voice was heard. "My lord and lady, we have arrived at the destination. As you have requested, we have stopped by the twisted tree as marked on the map." After hearing the maid, he turned to Victoria and said, "My lady, we will need to hide our faces as is the custom." Victoria nodded and looked towards the maid across from her, who pulled out a porcelain mask. After Victoria placed the mask on her face, Frederick was startled by how there were no openings for her to see. The mask was a smooth surface, giving an eerie feel. "Will you be able to see properly?" he asked her, concerned that she would stumble. As the maid across from them also placed a similar mask on her face, Victoria stated, "There is no need to worry about us, my lord. These masks are traditionally worn in our kingdom. The lack of openings helps us to hide our identities in case of meetings such as these." When he leaned forward to look out the carriage, he was met with the four faceless masks on the remaining maids. Though the image was startling, considering the cloudy night sky and the nature of the meeting, Frederick was able to calm himself. There is no need to be frightened by such things, as a child would, he told himself. Getting out of the carriage, he turned back and offered a hand to Victoria. Just like she hinted, Victoria took his offered hand with the same ability as someone not wearing a mask. Though the mask still gave him some hesitation, he was impressed with the design. With his hand still holding Victoria's hand, he guided them away from the road. After several minutes of walking had passed, they reached a massive stone. It had the appearance of something that had existed in that spot for thousands of years. As he approached the stone, he called out, "As the flood comes, only the pure will remain." Several moments seemed to pass when there was a scraping noise, and an opening appeared from the ground. Looking at Victoria, who nodded her head to indicate she was willing to proceed, Frederick walked towards the stairway leading into the abyss. The path was wide enough for several people to be side by side, so there was no issue for Frederick and Victoria to walk next to one another. Still holding Victoria's hand, Frederick enjoyed the way she felt and how she naturally allowed him to lead her. There was no feeling of insincerity when she did this, which was all the more to his liking. The underground hall continued to slope downwards, though not enough to feel uncomfortable. To guide members, the walls had mass stones on one side of the wall, to provide enough illumination. The light first started as a red and slowly began to turn blue. This was not only to prevent others from seeing the opening when the light leaked out, but also to symbolize how the overflow, though violent, would purify those destined to rule. After they had walked for some time, the hallway opened up to reveal a robed individual. "As the overflow comes, who will remain?" the individual asked him. "Only those who are deserving and have been touched by the gods," he answered. The robed man looked at Victoria in amaze and then looked at him. There is no need for alarm. She is someone from a foreign land who I believe will bring many resources to our cause. Frederick calmly answered the unspoken question. Accepting his explanation, the robed figure moved aside and pressed his hand on a secret panel. Where there was previously a wall, a door slid open and revealed a lighted room. When Frederick walked into the secret area, there was a circular table with other members of the organization. There were servants carrying plates of food to the members. Some of the members enjoyed teasing the servants as they grabbed their butts or had them sit on the members' laps. Turning back to look at Victoria, Frederick welcomed her by saying, "My Lady Victoria, welcome to the Order of Purity."